The Coca-Cola Company and the Pepsi-Cola Company have been market competitors since late in the 19th century. This video will study why in the heat of these cola wars, Coca-Cola decided that it would be a benefit if they altered their drink to taste more sugary, like Pepsi, and introduced a product called New Coke. The Coca-Cola Company was created in 1886 by John Pemberton, an Atlanta pharmacist. However, the company didn't take off as a hot commodity until Asa Candler secured the rights to the product and became the first president of the company in 1891. While Coca-Cola was initially sold for medicinal purposes, Candler saw the light past that and transformed Coca-Cola into the refreshment it is today. As we know in readings we've done in class, Coca-Cola was nationalized, followed by being globalized to becoming the familiar label and brand that is in over 200 countries and has over 139,600 employees globally. Similar to the creation of Coca-Cola, Pepsi was started in the summer of 1898 in North Carolina by a pharmacist named Caleb Bradham. He started a business in his shop and initially started selling it just out of his soda fountain, but later moved on to selling the syrup nationally, followed by bottling it. He succeeded nationally as a cheaper but equally as delicious version of Coca-Cola and were immediate competitors. Pepsi-Cola started to globalize at the end of World War II, where they filled gaps that Coca-Cola didn't. Through visually appealing and high endorsements, Pepsi-Cola has developed itself into being a familiar brand worldwide. The Pepsi Challenge is a marketing promotion that was introduced by the Pepsi-Cola Company in 1975 and is still going on today. The challenge is essentially a blind taste test with our participant taking a single sip of both a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi-Cola. The Pepsi-Cola Company found that this would be a successful global marketing campaign due to the fact that Pepsi has a more sugary taste, and in one sip, the sugar is liked by the majority of consumers. What this didn't take into account is that in the long run, many people prefer a less sugar-heavy drink because too much sugar may be too overwhelming for one's taste buds. Here's an example of the Pepsi Challenge.
John here says that he prefers the leading cola to Pepsi.
Right.
I want you to taste both colas, John, and tell me which taste you prefer.
This one.
Well, what do you know, Pepsi?
In taste tests across Australia, over 50% of people preferred the taste of Pepsi Cola over the leading cola.
I'm going to go for Pepsi. I'm sure.
Don't take our word for it, let your taste decide.
In 1981, Roberto C. Guazzetta became the chairman of the board of directors and CEO of the Coca-Cola Company and decided that as a part of intelligent risk-taking, as he called it, he would introduce a product called New Coke, which would compete with Pepsi-Cola and diminish their Pepsi Challenge campaign. For the first time in 99 years, he had thrown away the original recipe, which had brought the company so much success, and replaced it with a more sugary drink to put it on Pepsi's level. New Coke was officially introduced to the market on April 23, 1985, with the slogan, "The best just got better." Later that week, production of the original product terminally ended. While historically looking back from today, the New Coke experiment was a failure on the company's part. Initially, it wasn't necessarily that way. Coca-Cola sales were up 8% over the same period that year before, and 3/4 of the consumers said that they would purchase New Coke again after initially tasting it. However, with that said, the product ultimately failed. People were saying that the new product tasted roughly like a watered-down, slightly sweeter old Coke. An area of importance to the company was the South in the U.S. due to the creation site of the beverage. Many Southerners, some whom considered the drink a fundamental towards religious identity, viewed the change in recipe as another surrender to the Yankees, even though Pepsi was created in North Carolina. In Texas, when New Coke ads appeared on the scoreboard at the Houston Astrodome, they were booed. New Coke was not just bashed in the South, but all over the entire nation. Critics have said that this change in recipe was the largest marketing mistake in our most recent history. People were protesting across the country, and blind taste tests were even conducted at schools across the nation. In the independent school league's Morgan Park Academy, they conducted taste tests between Pepsi, New Coke, and Old Coke. The students brutally honestly concluded that the original Coca-Cola flavoring was the best. Across the nation, different Coca-holics were calling into the Atlanta hotline with complaints. Gay Mullins, a Seattle retiree, was looking to start a public relations firm with $120,000 of borrowed money and formed the organization Old Cola Drinkers of America on May 28, 1985, to pressure Coca-Cola to either reintroduce or sell the old formula. His organization received over 60,000 phone calls of support. These situations were happening across the country, and the Coca-Cola Company finally realized that their experiment was a failure and that they needed to take the new product off of the market. On July 10, 1985, less than 3 months later, the Coca-Cola Company decided to put the original recipe back on the market. The original recipe took the name Coca-Cola Original so that they could continue to sell new Coke to those consumers who preferred the new product to the old. In a short amount of time, Coca-Cola Original, or Classic Coke, was outselling both New Coke and Pepsi, making the Coca-Cola Company the most profitable cola company once again. The president of the company at the time, Donald R. Koff, said that the simple fact is that all the time and money and skill poured into consumer research on the new Coca-Cola could not measure or reveal the deep and abiding emotional attachment to the original Coca-Cola felt by so many people. People think that Pepsi was always chasing Coca-Cola, and this proves that no matter how much faith a company has in their product, like Coca-Cola did, they try to alter their product to what they think will be of best consumption and what the consumers want to see. The Pepsi challenge triggered this panic for the Coca-Cola Company and caused them to react. With all of their historical success, many wonder why the Coca-Cola Company would ever take their 99-year successful recipe and toss it for something new that was catered to taste more like its competitor. No analyst can come up with a plausible answer. It is one of those mysteries in business and history that we are going to have to come up with ourselves. Next time you pick up a Coca-Cola, think about all the history that's in the bottle.